Big 12 Radio presented by Modelo. Along with James Westling, I'm Ari Temkin. Great to have you with us today and every day here at your home for the Big 12. We're excited to be joined right now by Marc Daniels, the play-by-play voice for UCF. How are you, Marc?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate your time. You know, we've talked a lot about UCF basketball this year because of the turnaround. And, you know, for me, and curious for kind of your overall thoughts, just Johnny's going into the portal to add experience, I think has proven to be so tremendous for this team this year. Just adding a guy like Fulks who has that experience, you know, feels like as opposed to younger players, like this is a group that knows how to win and has been through the ringer a little bit.
Yeah, you know, today in college basketball, it's interesting, and this is a completely new roster. There's nobody back from last year's team with the exception of two walk-ons. So, you know, you hope you get the right mix of guys, and then they got to gel together. I think they had a little bit of a game plan as far as the type of players they wanted to identify that fits into the system that Johnny wants. Have some experience. You got a mix of guys that were playing, you know, high-level basketball that maybe needed a new place to play in an expanded role. Some guys that had worked their way up to the portal that now were ready to take that next step. And you cross your fingers and you hope that it works. And I think for UCF, they got off to a good start in the non-conference schedule. Had a couple of really nice wins. Winning at Texas A&M was big. Yeah. Beat a Pitt team that at the time you didn't know, what they were going to be. And then took on some really good mid-majors where I think they got tested a bit. And then the question is, were you ready to go into the Big 12? So now I think you're beginning to see, the work they put together, the reward right now. A lot of basketball left in the best basketball league in the country. But, you know, the Houston game the other night got away from them. But I think this team has played above clearly what people thought and have some opportunities to continue to position themselves where, you know, if they don't win the conference tournament, hopefully they got a resume to get to the NCAA tournament.
Marc, how would you describe UCF stylistically?
Well, Johnny Dawkins has always been a defensive first guy. Even though they're averaging better than 80 points a game, their offense is going to be better when they play, good defense. If they're playing lockdown defense, one and done on a shot, outlet pass, then they're going to get teams that aren't in a defensive set. And I think that's what Johnny ideally wants. This team, though, is a little bit different than some of his other teams, is that they don't need one or two guys that have to handle the bulk of the scoring. They need a whole bunch of people to help, and I think that's made them tough to defend. But it's still about defense for Johnny. The defense beginning of the season was slow to come around. It's gotten better. It can be better, but their defense is what's going to carry them. It's always been a staple for Johnny. The other thing, though, and Johnny clearly knows point guards, is he had to find the right point guard. He did with Demas Fulks, who is a change of what they had in Darius Johnson, a 4-year starter. They finished up last year, but Demas has been a calming influence. I think he's much better than people thought he was going to be, and he's made defenses have to adjust because of his ability. He doesn't need the three. He's comfortable averaging better than 7 assists a game, but he also can shoot inside the paint. He's comfortable with the 10-foot mid-range jump shot. And I think Demas has been the real key to kind of let other guys develop their game in the course of the season.
You know, you've been there for 31 years. How has the fan base embraced this basketball team, especially now in the Big 12? I mean, how have you seen the growth of this program and the excitement with the fans?
Yeah, look, I think, if you're honest, particularly for most Southern schools, it's football first, spring football second, and football recruiting third. And then you get to basketball. But I think as every sport at UCF has benefited by the move to the Big 12, I think basketball's been the biggest from a standpoint of fan interest. You know, UCF's had success in football in recent years, so filling the bounce house wasn't a problem. I think for basketball, and it's no disrespect, I thought the American was a great league for UCF the time that they were there. But when you step into the Big 12, you were going to face great competition. Fan base is very passionate about basketball. Mm-hmm. It was going to almost force you to elevate your program to match that, to be competitive, and then, get the rewards of it. I think what's happened for UCF, they've had some nice wins in the 2+ years, 2.5 years they've been in the Big 12, which has brought the casual fan. The great thing is, even though, I think we all know you can play at Kansas, they're going to have their fans that are going to travel BYU. But now, most of that UCF crowd, which is basically sold out every game, is made up of UCF fans. And the most recent big game against Texas Tech, I think there may have been a couple of hundred Red Raider fans, but otherwise the rest of that 9,000, that's UCF fans. It's an easier ticket to sell. People recognize the opponent, one of their history, too. Most of them are ranked at times. So that part has been great for UCF. The expectation now has grown, and that's a good thing. I mean, you want to have high expectations in basketball. The fan base has been thirsting for that, and they've been rewarded with good basketball this year, and they've done their part to come out to Addition Financial Arena. It's been a great home environment. I think even Big 12 coaches have talked about it as UCF's evolving in this Big 12. Then when you come to Orlando, it's a tough place to play.
Marc Daniels is the radio play-by-play for the UCF Knights. He joins us here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. UCF has won 3 of their last 4 games. And, Marc, they have really separated themselves from kind of that middle tier in the Big 12 in the fact that they have 2 wins, not just 1 but 2, over the upper echelon, Texas Tech and Kansas. And now, like, I look at their schedule, they have at BYU left, but outside of that, they don't play any of those top 6 teams in the conference standings. So what is their ceiling, and how high potentially could UCF get when it comes to a Selection Sunday seed line?
Yeah, I think the beginning of the season, and UCF was picked 14th. You kind of look at the scheduling and there are no easy games, and there are no easy games left for UCF with 10 to go. But as the year began to play itself out, you're right. As far as those upper schools, there's not many left in the schedule, but there's a number of teams that are within a game or 2 in the loss column of UCF that makes those massive basketball games, because you can go from 5th to 10th pretty quick in this league. I think if before the season you said to anybody in the conference, if you win 10 games of the 18, do you feel like you got a good chance to make the NCAA tournament? History shows that if you're above 500 in this conference in league play, you got a really good shot to get in. Now, I think West Virginia was 10-10 last year, got left out. They got caught in that net mix there. Every game you want to go out to compete to win. UCF sits at 6-4 today. They got 4 games at home, 4 games on the road. Can you hold court at home? If you hold court at home, then they're at 10 conference wins. Can you get at least 1 on the road? That might be 11. If you lose 1 at home, can you pick it up? So, you want to win every game. I think, if you're UCF and you get to 10 conference wins, I think you'd feel really good about yourself, because then you got 21 wins the regular season. Maybe get another one of the conference tournament. If they're 9-9, maybe, but then it gets a little cloudy. So there's opportunities out there, but no easy ones. We go to a desperate Cincinnati team coming up on Sunday, come home for a couple of games. Among those games, it looks to be an improving Baylor team. So there are no easy games, but I do think if they can get to 10 conference wins, I think it'd be hard for the committee to keep them out just because of how good the league is.
Yeah, well said. Marc Daniels, play-by-play voice of UCF, is joining us. Real quick, football question for me. I really like what they've done in the portal. They've added a lot of experience. I think there's some programs that want to take the former 5 stars or 4 stars from the big schools that maybe haven't played as much and seen the field as much. It feels like what Scott Frost did in the portal was add a lot of guys that produced and were on the field for smaller schools, and I really like that approach.
Well, look, last year when Scott was hired, the portal is literally opening, and by the time he got done with his opening press conference, there were 3 players and agents outside his office asking about their deals for the next season.
Wow.
And by the time he got to looking at the portal and figuring out who to get, if you're honest, 1st, 2nd, 3rd tier guys were gone. This year, Scott had a chance with his staff to figure out, who do we want from the football team this past year? Where can we target? And now let's go after that. So they've had a complete portal process to go out and identify players. And look, for UCF, where we're at when it comes to rev share and the dollars involved, it's still evolving for us. We're not going to have as much money as some of the other schools, even within the league. But I think what Scott was excited about is, give me the full offseason. Let's identify players that we want. Alonzo Barnett, the quarterback of James Madison, I think is a huge addition for them.
Yeah.
A 2-year starter at quarterback. We haven't had a healthy quarterback, guys, in better than 5 seasons.
Right.
Play the entire year. You go back to Dylan Gabriel at UCF. The entire Gus Malzahn run, nobody was healthy. Scott didn't have a healthy quarterback last year. But I think they've identified guys that they believe fit into their system. It's an evolving process, but I think they're in a better place, no question, than they were a year ago with a full off season to work with. So I think UCF will trend upwards in 2026. And I think Scott feels good about where the program's at right now with the resources, with the players that they brought in, and a better mindset of feeling like, okay, we can breathe now because we're working on a timeline that makes sense for them. So I think they're going to be, like I said, trending in the right direction in 26.
Yeah. Great to hear from you. Marc Daniels, voice of UCF. Appreciate your time, Marc. Be well. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Marc Daniels joining us here on Big 12 Radio, along with James Westling. I'm Ari Temkin. Great to hear from Marc and his thoughts on what's been a very surprisingly good basketball season for Johnny Dawkins and UCF. As we discussed, they are now kind of firmly in NCAA tournament space. And, relative to the rest of the Big 12, have a fairly easy schedule the rest of the way. Could have some trip-up spots that, might sabotage it. But for now, they seem to be in, especially according to Joey Brackets. All right, with James, I'm Ari. This is Big 12 Today, Big 12 Radio. Coming up next, we will recap what we saw last night and what it means, plus talk big picture. Also, we've got the Super Bowl on Sunday, so let's talk Big 12 in the Super Bowl. That's next. This is Big 12 Today, presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios.